My name is Halden Rashid, Microsoft MVP, MCT, and founder at Powercademy, where we help businesses in the Microsoft ecosystem upskill their teams in the Power Platform and AI. And ladies and gentlemen, if you are familiar with the Power Platform, which I'm sure you are if you're watching this video, then you understand that Power Pages has always been the dark horse of sorts of the rest of the low-code stack. It's always been the one with the highest barrier to entry, and it's always been very difficult for citizen developers and people without professional development backgrounds to build real solutions with Power Pages. Now, a couple of months ago, I made a video covering the Claude Code and GitHub Copilot plugin for Power Pages, which effectively scaffolds and builds a full Power Pages site from scratch using natural language. Now, at that time, it was in preview, and now it is finally generally available. And in this video, I'm going to show you how that looks, some of the changes that are made, and also some of the new capability added after its past general availability. If you've seen some of the videos on this channel, then you know I'm quite obsessed, so to speak, with these plugins, whether they're GitHub Copilot plugins or Claude. And specifically towards the Power Platform, I think they create a new way of working and a new way of developing solutions at a much faster and flexible pace. So in this video, I'm going to show you a quick recap of what the plugin is. I'm going to be showing you the announcements and some of the new features, and then we're going to get into a live demo where I'm going to show you end-to-end how to build the site again if you watched the older video, and some of the new capabilities that have been added as a result. Now, of course, since it's generally available, Microsoft have given you the green light to create this for your customers or for your business and use it in production. So what I'm showing you right now isn't just testing or preview features, but actually stuff that you can use today. So without further ado, I think I've spoken enough. Let's actually get into the introduction and the demo as well. So getting into how the plugin works again. So we've got our general coding agent, whether that's Claude Code or GitHub Copilot, and utilizing the models that are on there. Then we've got the Power Pages plugin, which is what we're previewing today. And this gives the coding agent platform knowledge and the skills necessary to become, in this case, a Power Pages developer. So it's got context of Dataverse, it's got context of the existing tables, it knows how to build a site end-to-end, how to authenticate, and it really breaks down that pro code wall that was existing for Power Pages and gives you the capability to build full sites just with natural language. Now, if you go into the actual announcement, and if you want to take a look at this, the link will be in the description. And obviously, if you haven't had the prerequisites installed, I've got 2 videos on installing the Power Pages plugin, one introducing it and showing a demo, and one being an installation guide. Go and check those out, or you can follow this guide as well. Now, if you scroll down here, you can see immediately GA, meaning generally available, so it's actually become live now. The real statement here is the preview was more something to play with and kind of scaffold your site from scratch. The difference between what the preview was and now what is generally available is now you actually have a full life cycle to govern and maintain the Power Pages site, rather than just creating the website and a base functionality. Now, don't get me wrong, that was really powerful, but implementing these new features now just gives it that little bit more that it needed, so you can actually start implementing these for your business. Now, there's 3 core skills that you haven't seen before in the last video, if you check that out, and they span ALM and pipelines, site security, authentication, and access. Now, as a headline for these 3, effectively what they do is ALM and pipelines can draw up an application lifecycle management strategy for your Power Platform environments. And if you don't have solutions and publishers and those things built, the ALM and pipeline skills can actually do that for you. It also has capability to create Power Platform pipelines if you do have managed environments as well, and I'll show you how to do that in this video. Then you've got site security, and this one's quite cool. It will effectively do a whole audit of your website and find any vulnerabilities or any issues with it, whether it's authentication or anything in the code that it can refactor or effectively make a little bit better. This is really good because it gives you a report of what's wrong with the code and also what can be improved, and it can also go and do those fixes for you. So it's an extra layer to make sure what you're actually implementing is secure and safe. Then authentication and access. So let's say we've scaffolded our site and we've got it and it's looking good and we're very happy with it. This new setup authentication skill now gives us the ability to set up any authentication pipeline that we need to into our website so people can log in and out and manage their profile as well. I'll show you how you can do that as well with natural language within Claude Code 2, which is really cool because these are things that used to take hours and now can take minutes. If I scroll down here, you can see all of the specific commands that are available to you. I would really just focus on the high level commands because these prompt any command that comes below it. But I'd recommend coming through and having a read of the capabilities available to you. But what I'm going to do in this video, rather than go through all of these kind of sub commands, I'm going to go through the headline command and then we're going to go through each of these when we need them. So this one's for ALM, and if I scroll down, we've got security review as well. So we're going to be demoing this. And then finally, we've got the authentication. So set up auth to actually build in the authentication into a Power Pages site. So now I actually want to show you a demo of building a site end to end with this new capability baked in. So let's get started. Okay, so we're starting in Visual Studio Code as we usually do, and we really want to start with some housekeeping. The first thing we want to do is update the plugin. So we're going to be using Claude here as we do for most of these videos, if not all of them. So we're just going to run the terminal by coming into terminal, a new terminal, and then we're just going to run Claude. It's going to ask us if we trust the folder, we're just going to say yes, and you'll know that you're in Claude once you see this really weird icon, which to this day I still don't know what it is. Now, the way that we update the plugin once you have it installed, if you've already had it installed, and if you don't have it installed, I will put the setup guide in the description for you to follow. And the first thing we want to do is /plugin. Click enter, and now we'll be taken to this view where we can discover, see our installed plugins, and also download any new plugins. So the first thing we want to do is go into our installed plugins, scroll down until we find the Power Pages plugin, click enter, and then what you want to do is select update now. Once you press enter on this, it will process, it will ask you to run reload plugins, click enter, and then this will give us the new Power Pages plugin. Now, the way to make sure that it's actually there is if I just type in ALM or /ALM even, Plan ALM is here, and these are one of the new capabilities. So if you don't see this, then you're not on the most up-to-date version. So this is a good smoke test just to make sure. Now, another bit of housekeeping. You'll see here on the top that I'm using Sonnet 4.6. And I'm probably going to change to Opus. I'm a little bit worried because this does consume a lot of tokens. We did speak about that in the last video. I've heard that it's hopefully going to be optimized and improved in the future, but just be very careful when you are using this to keep an eye on your tokens. When I was testing it, I was using Sonnet, but I've realized that because of the context window of Sonnet, you don't really get as much room to develop your Power Pages site as you would with the Opus models. So I would highly recommend just making sure you're on the right model by going to /model. And in this case, we're going to be using Opus. And you can see we're on Opus 4.8. I want to see if I can change that to 4.7, ideally. I can't, so what I'm going to do instead is using my keys. You can see it's changing there at the bottom. I'm just going to select medium effort. And that should preserve at least a few of my tokens while doing this. Once we've set this all up, the first thing we want to run is the command create site. Now what this will do is create the site. It'll bring the HTML on your local machine. It will show you the plan of what it's going to be doing, and it will actually build the site before deploying it into your Power Platform environment. Now what I like to do is press space, and you can see we get an optional site description area, and here we're just going to give context on what we want to build. You can see I've got a very simple prompt to create a Power Pages site called the Community Events Portal. Public visitors can browse a list of upcoming events. The brand is clean and modern, and we're just going to press enter. Now what this will do is it will run, and you'll see the tokens cracking away here. It'll make a to-do list for itself, similar to the last video. It'll scaffold and launch a dev server so we can see the site in action before we approve it. It'll plan the components, and you can see it'll just continuously add to this to-do list as it thinks of things to do. You can see the first thing it's asking is the front-end framework that it wants to build the single page application with. We're just going to select React. It's going to ask where it should create the project. We're just going to say new folder. And then we're going to submit the answers. And what you'd find is for some of these steps, it's going to ask you questions so it can just validate better how you want this built. And that's by design of the plugin. So it's a really cool feature. And you can see it's even going to give us some suggestions of some features that it can add if it works the way that I tested it. You can see I have been testing this, and it's already found the community events portal that I did previously. So you can see it's really intelligent in matching those different areas on your local machine. But we're just going to say build a fresh new folder in version 2 so we can start from scratch. You can see it's giving us the different phases, what the confirmed plan is as well, the site name, the framework, the purpose, even the brand, and we're just going to see this continue working until we have a final application. Now, I should say out of all the steps, this is definitely the longest, so do be patient with it. It can take anything from testing to 10 minutes till about 20 minutes. So just keep an eye on this, go through the questionnaire, make sure that you're ticking the boxes and it hasn't frozen at all. And a really telltale sign that it is frozen is these tokens will stop going up. So we're just going to wait for this to finish, and I will check in with you at each stage where we see something a little bit different. Now this is really where things get special for this particular plugin. Now you can tell a lot of love has gone into it because it creates this local host on your machine. And if I just close the full screen, it is just a browser here. And you can see it's going to start showing us what it develops on this local host before we actually deploy it into our environments. Now you can see here we're getting some pop-ups letting us know that it's waiting for our input. So if we open up Visual Studio Code, you can see it's asking us for the features that the portal should include. Now I'm going to say I want the event details page, search and filter, I want the calendar view, and we don't need the newsletter sign up, so we're just going to skip that and press next. It's asking us for the aesthetic, minimal and clean, bold and vibrant, which is going to go minimal and clean, and then it's asking us for the overall mood, so we're going to go creative and playful. We're going to press submit, and you should see the site starting to work over here. So if we want to demo the site, if we want to take a look, if we want to experiment with it before we actually commit to it within our environment, we would do so through the localhost here. So my recommendation would be to split your screen and keep an eye on both the terminal and also the site to start seeing your site come alive and implementing feedback as you're kind of going through the process. What it will also do is generate a HTML page containing the implementation plan. So this is a new addition that we didn't see in the first iteration of this plugin. It will give us an overview of what we've asked for, the design, the color palette, the motion, the animation. If I scroll down, you can see the pages and components here as well that it's going to add, and then also the deployment and review checklist that it's created for itself. Now this is absolutely amazing, and I do want to say this is quite a lesson for me as well. And because we do have such free reign with these tools, with AI, and it's really unique to how the person uses it, I think a really amazing way to visualize really anything that we're trying to convey to someone else, it can be done really easily through a nice HTML page. So I feel like we're moving away from Word documents and boring Excel files, and we can actually create dynamic elements for our customers and our businesses to go through. And this is a really good example of that. Now, of course, this can be overkill for sure, but hopefully it opens your mind to some things that you can implement within your organization as well. But anyway, I thought this was just a really cool reframing to the way that we actually convey information within our businesses. But if we go back to Visual Studio Code, you can see it's asking us if the implementation plan looks good to build. And let's say we're happy with it, and we're just going to say approve and start building, and it's going to crack on and build us the site. Now pay attention to your local host. Remember, these are two different tabs. We have our local host, and then we also have the implementation plan. Pay attention to this to see the site coming alive. You can see as it creates the different pages, we're going to see it in the local host. If I click onto these different pages, you can see they're not currently there yet, but you can see it's still working within the home page. Now, something to obviously clarify, since we are on the local host, this isn't connected to any database of sorts. It just kind of gives a preview of what it would look like if it was connected to data. Once we've connected to our environments, I'll show you how to connect this to our Dataverse database. But for now, just keep an eye on the way that the site is being created. And when you see this message, you know that development is complete. So it's asking us to go into the local host and actually review the site for ourselves. So if I click onto a local host, you can see that this is the site that it's developed. I'm on the about page, but if I click onto here, you can see it'll take us to the home page. I can scroll down, see the featured events, the categories, and the about section, also the footer that it's created. You can see that there are still bugs, like this isn't really good user experience here. I can see what it's trying to do, but probably not the best thing. And if I go into calendar, you can see it's created a really nice calendar for us, and we can switch between the months. And if I click onto these, it will open the specific event details screen. Now we're going back to Visual Studio Code, and let's say we're happy with this. We're going to say it looks great, please continue. And then now it's going to finally wrap up. So you can see this took about 22 minutes, about 84,000 tokens were consumed. And then the final thing that it will do is ask us about deploying. So we're going to wait for this to finish. You can see it's done, and it's asking us if we want to deploy it to Power Pages now. We're going to say deploy now. And what this should do is check the environment we're currently authenticated against using the pack CLI, and then it will ask to deploy to that environment. You can see it's verifying the pack CLI is installed, the authentication, and it's also going to confirm the target environment where we want this to go. So we're just going to wait for all of this to finish. And in this case, you can see it's correctly found the environment that we want to deploy to. So we're going to say yes, use this environment. It's told us the site is deployed, and now it's asking us if we want to activate, so it gets a live public URL. We're going to say activate now, just to make sure all of the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And then once this is all finished, when we go into the YouTube development environment where we deploy to, we should see the Power Pages site available for us. And now you can see up until this point, it's asked us a few more questions, but activation has overall succeeded. So if I go into my solutions within my YouTube developer environment, and I just open up this solution I created, go into objects, add existing, and if I go into site over here, you can see the community events portal is here available for me. Now I'm just going to add it to a solution. We're going to leave the objects out of it for now. And you can see the components have been added successfully. If you can't see it, just click through these. And if you still can't see it, in this case we can. But if you can't see it, then just refresh here. We're going to click the ellipsis and then edit. And you should see the Power Pages loading screen here. Now this will open up for us. And now we're within here. If I come into preview and then desktop. Okay, so it took some time, but we're finally live on the site. So we're here within the Power Pages preview. You can see if I scroll down, I've got the full site available to me. Again, this is still test data, so do keep that in mind. We are going to connect this to our Dataverse storage, so it's going to have real data, but this is just the way that it will look once the data is in there. So now we've got this ready, what we want to do is set up our data model with the Dataverse structure that we have. We're going to get it to create 2 new tables, one for events and one for registrations. What we'll do is come into Visual Studio Code, and you can see I asked Claude why the site wasn't loading. I ran the test skill here at the top, and effectively it debugged and fixed it for me. Now what we're going to do is run /setup data model tab, and we've just pasted this prompt in here saying that we need 2 Dataverse tables for the portal, one called event, one called registration, and then a relationship as well. We're going to press enter, and what that should do is provision 2 Dataverse tables for us, and it should also use the existing contact table for registrations. It's made a to-do list here as well, so it's just going to crack through this. It's going to give us an ERD diagram here, and we can see the different tables. It's using contact. It's showing us the relationships between contact and event, and it's showing us the different tables with the different columns available as well. We're going to approve and create tables, or we can also request changes, but we're happy with this, so we're just going to select enter, and now it should go ahead and create those tables for us. So you can see now the task is finished. It's created an event table, a registration table, and reused the contact table. And if I go into the environments here, come into add existing table, and if I type in event here, I see the table popping up. I'm just going to click on it. And if I type in registration, Powercademy registration here, now I've got 2 tables selected. I'm going to select next. We're just going to remove all objects and then select add. So we've now seen those tables created. Now if I go into the event table, for example, you can see a big problem that I have is I won't have any data within here, and that's because I just created the table. What's really nice about the Power Pages skills is we have an add sample data skill here as well. So what I'm going to do is run that skill, add sample data, and I'm going to say add sample data to the events and registration tables that you just created. We're going to press enter, and what that should do, you can see we ran into a usage credit limit. So what I've done is I've switched to Sonnet 4.6, and I'm running the Power Pages add sample data. And you can see the first thing it's going to do is compact the conversation and then feed it into the Sonnet model so it can then read off of that. So if you ever run into any of these issues with your licensing, then it's always a good idea to just change the model to a cheaper one, as we've done here. So we're going to wait for this to compact, and we're going to see if it adds the sample data for us. You can see now we've done that, it's working. It's asking how many sample records we'd like per table. We're just going to say 5 records is completely okay, and it's going to go ahead and create those for us. It gives us a nice breakdown of the records created, the columns that it's used, and you can see it's going to keep working until all of that is finished. You can see it's confirmed that it's added events, it's created registrations, and if I go into Dataverse and select refresh by going into edit, and then you can see that they're added here in terms of events, and if I go into registration, we should see the same thing. And just like that, we can see the registrations added as well. Now that we've got data in the table, if I come into the Power Pages site and then do a refresh, so Control, Shift, and then R, we can refresh it. What you'll see immediately is if I'm on the data section, I can see the tables in this site, and there are currently no results. So there's no tables currently linked to my Power Pages site. And the skill that we're going to run to effectively connect the tables into the Power Pages site is /integrate web API. And what this will do is connect the tables to the front end. So we're going to add a prompt saying to integrate the web API so the site reads the event and registration tables from Dataverse, showing upcoming events on the homepage, and that signed in users see their own registrations. Press enter, and what that's going to do is create the connection for us. You can see during integrating the web API, it actually prompted me to use the table permissions architect to propose and create the table permissions effectively. And if I go into my browser, you can see it's created a HTML page around the roles, so anonymous users, authenticated users, the table permissions as well, so it gives me a legend, the event, the registration as well, and it's architected the whole table permissions plan for me. Now, of course, hopefully it goes without saying, you're probably better off doing this by yourself right now, but it's going to get you quite far, especially if you upload some sort of reference architecture that it can use. So, something to think about, and if it does prompt you to use these agents, chances are you probably want to do it. So in this case we did, and that's what it's currently doing, and it's still finishing that integration with the tables and the permissions, and once that's all finished, we're going to review within the Power Pages site and see how that goes. You can see everything is ready, the site needs to be deployed. We're going to say, yes, you can deploy it now, and we're going to see and examine that within the site. Okay, so you can see that that's been deployed and is now live. And if I go into the Power Pages site, do a Control-Shift-R, reload, and I'm in the data section, you can see the event and registration tables are now in the site. And once we're previewing, you can see, yes, the site looks good, everything is in place, the data seems to work okay. But the issue is we don't really have any native login or sign up. We've got sign in here, and if I click onto this, you can see it seems like it's like an infinite load and it's not really going anywhere. And this is part of one of the skills that they've added that's become generally available as part of the update. And this allows you to set up authentication for your Power Pages site all natively within the terminal. And the way that we do that is we use the /setupauth tab, and then we give it a prompt like this to set up authentication for the portal. We keep Microsoft Entra ID as the default provider, and then we're going to press enter, and we're going to see how that creates the authentication for the site as well. In this case, it's built an authentication plan, so what we're going to do is approve and proceed. And now it's confirmed that the authentication portion of this is complete. If I go onto Power Pages and refresh the site, and you can see now I have full authentication. So when I press sign in, I can sign in with Microsoft, and then you can see now I'm authenticated on the portal. Now what we're going to do is run another command which is new with the general availability, and it's called security review. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask it to run a full security review of the site before we go live and give me a consolidated report. And if we press enter, what it's going to do is it's going to understand the code base, it's going to understand all of the authentication features that it's added, and it's going to find gaps within the solution that it can then act on. What we'll see is it will generate another HTML page, and we'll show that once it does, but effectively showcasing all of the gaps within our security. And you can see with the security review, it's given us the HTML page, it's given us the different sections, roles and permissions, and it basically tells us any issue with the site and what it can resolve. It gives us the location, and we can collapse all of these to understand them a little bit further. If we go back into Visual Studio Code, we're just going to wait for this to finish. And you can see here, it's going to ask us if we want it to walk us through the fixes, rerun the review. But in this case, we're just going to say, no, thank you, we are done for now. But this is the security role skill. And now finally, the headline skill, which is ALM, shipping to different environments, particularly test and production environments. Now, the headline skill for this is /plan ALM. And what this will do is it will create us a plan for deploying our Power Pages site across different environments, and it will find the environments that it needs to deploy to. And we can configure those, and if we have managed environments enabled, it will utilize the Power Platform Pipelines feature. So we're going to press enter on Plan ALM. And honestly, this is what I find really cool about this particular skill. So we've got the Power Pages site living in YouTube development, right? This is the environment that we have. We also have YouTube production. And if we go into the terminal, you can see that it's found YouTube production as the likely target, since the names align. It's also picked up on the Copilot Studio Masterclass environment, which isn't the one that we need. You can see one of the first prompts that we have is the solution setup. It says that no Dataverse solution is set up for the site yet, but in fact, I do actually already have a solution, Power Pages GA. So what I'm going to do is just copy this, come back into Visual Studio Code, and I'm just going to go into type something and say, I have a solution, the name is, and then I'll put in the name, Power Pages GA. And what that will do is it will use the existing solution. Then it's going to ask us how we want to promote our solution between environments. So we have Power Platform Pipelines available as an option, manual export import, and then also help me decide as an option as well. Now, what we're going to do in this case is select Power Platform Pipelines as our deployment option. Click onto this and submit our answers. Now, do keep in mind for Power Platform Pipelines to be an option, you need both your development environment and any testing and production environments to be managed. And since we have our environments as managed, we have this available to us. What's nice is it realizes that we are missing dependencies within the solution. So what we want to do is sync first so we don't have any missing dependencies and it doesn't break the deployment. So we're just going to press sync first. You can see it's found me all of the components that we need, and it's also giving me an option to add them all to the solution, which we will proceed. Now it's going to walk us through creating the Power Platform pipelines. So it's asking how many deployment stages we want. So in this case, we're just going to say production directly. Then it's asking for the pipeline host. And in this case, we're just going to go with the recommended version, which is the platform host. It's asking if the deployment should require approval before each stage. We're just going to say no approval gates, and then we're going to submit. So it's taken us very simply through the configuration of Power Platform pipelines. Now, if you've ever had experience with Power Platform pipelines, you might know that things aren't so simple all the time. So it's sometimes good to go in and actually make sure everything has been configured correctly. It's asking for the production environment, which is going to press YouTube production in this case. And here we go. Again, it's opened a HTML page, and through here we can see the components of the ALM plan for the Power Pages site. We've got an overview here with the recommendations and risks. Things such as deploying directly to production isn't a good thing, so I'm glad that they've noticed that. We've got size analysis as well, environment variables, asset inventory, the solutions we're using in this case, the pipelines that we have set up, validation, and execution too. If I go into here, we can approve and execute the plan. We're going to do that so that integrates for us. Now, this is likely to take a long time, so I'm not going to make you sit through it. But effectively, this is how you provision the Power Platform pipelines. Well, everyone, there it is. That is the Power Pages coding plugin that has been developed by Microsoft themselves. So you can see it works really well. I personally think out of all the Power Platform plugins that I've used, this is the most sophisticated and developed one. And now it's generally available for you to use within your businesses. I hope this video helped. Let me know what you think of it in the comments as well. I mean, I've had a play with it, some limitations, some drawbacks, still the same as the last video. It consumes a lot of tokens. I think it can take a long time, drastically shorter time than it would to actually develop this end-to-end by yourself. Of course, I think, you're talking hours rather than days or weeks here. So it's, a much lower time to actually get your Power Pages sites out there. Of course, it does also consume a lot of tokens, as I mentioned, so you need to be careful with that as well. But I think all in all, it's working quite well. I didn't run into too many issues with it. I would say there are a few bugs that you might encounter, but then it can be easily fixed using Claude and actually speaking to it in natural language, and it will understand the bug that you're running into and look to resolve it. Honestly, I want to give a huge hats off to the Power Pages team developing this because it's quite sophisticated, and again, I would personally say one of my favorite plugins to use throughout the Power Platform skill stack. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, I actually need to learn how to build with these tools completely end to end, then that's what we do at Powercademy. We've really got two lenses here. We help businesses upskill their teams and train in Power Platform development so then you can utilize these tools to the best of your ability. And we also help individuals like yourself to go in and learn this technology end to end so you're not asking questions or guessing what is the right thing to use. There's a link in the top of the description to powercademy.com where you can put your email. And if you're interested in getting in touch as a business, we have a For Businesses section where you can book a call as well. Okay, if this was useful, you know what to do. Subscribe, drop a like, and yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.